Here I'm running a test to see if we can put this, this is about 19-20 ounces of yarn, you know, how much of that we can get onto the cone winder. So I'm simply pulling off that cone horizontally and putting it on the same level to make sure there's no unusual tension being caused. I want to get as much on here as possible without making the cone too tight that we're winding. And then we'll see how much we can get on. This gives you a good view of how the yarn on a cone comes off. It's obviously wound from top to bottom. That's over a 7-inch height. So there's quite a bit of activity there as the yarn rather is removed from the cone. You can see how easily it spins on our yarn pet there. You know, there's really no friction in the mechanism itself. It's just pulling it right off of there. A little bit more tension than you would get when you pull it off vertically, for sure. But in this case, that tension, as long as it's even, that tension is a good thing. Now you can see, the way to observe tension is look at the yarn as it's in flight between the cone and the cone winder. See how it gets a little tighter, a little looser, a little tighter, a little looser? That's how it comes off the cone. That has nothing to do, per se, with the motion that we're creating, but more or less the yarn itself. Oftentimes it's, like I say, it's got snag points on these cones. It's the way they wind it. And when you pull it off vertically, you don't seem to notice that quite as much. When we pull it off at high speed, we're pulling off at pretty high speed now. A speed normally people would not be removing yarn from a cone at. You know, if you're a weaver, you're not doing this. I don't know of anybody who's really moving off there, except people that are making skeins. On a skein winder, they would be pulling it off fairly quickly. Cone's getting bigger. Now every revolution of the cone winder is pulling off more yarn. You'll actually see that make the cone over here go faster. As that cone gets smaller, it has to turn many more times now to deliver the same rate of yarn. So that's going pretty fast. I've adjusted I'm going to adjust the speed down a little bit on the cone winder, but it's really making that cone go fast over there, as you can see. That particular cone over there is a 7-inch tall cone. It has a very small opening at the top, so we were not able to use our rubber stopper method on that particular cone. It wasn't necessary, since it's captivated at the top by the cone itself. Once again, look at the yarn in flight, you know what it's doing. Loosening, tightening, loosening, tightening. And that again is a function of where the yarn gets to the top and the bottom of the cone as it releases from the cone. It has a little more tension. I made my last adjustment to the ball winder, which is having to do with that post. I can only take it off so far, but I still have clearance there, no problem. We'll just have to see what's happening here with the other cone. I've slowed the unit down a little bit so that the supply cone isn't going too fast. At the beginning, that weighed approximately 20 ounces, that cone of yarn. I've had some people think that we can only get, what, 4 ounces on this cone? I don't know what they were thinking. So in the end, we were able to get about 11 to 12 ounces of yarn onto the cone. We started to run into a problem in this area here where it started to hit the spindle arm. Typically that wouldn't happen with a normal ball because we'd be filling the whole vertical space. But with the cone, shape. And the cone shape also takes up space, unfortunately. It's got a larger diameter than the spindle itself, so it ends up actually wasting space, and that's why you're not able to get the full amount on the cone. But still, 11 to 12 ounces, that's not too shabby. And then that's the resulting cone that's left. That's about 8 ounces there. The yarn on that cone could be tighter too, although it's not loose. It's not super firm. It's medium firm, I would say. So that's why I'm going to guesstimate that had that been wound a little bit tighter, we probably could get 12 ounces on there.